Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. Vladimir Putin, the man who finds Nazi in breakfast cereals and sees NATO lurking in his tea leaves, has suddenly gone full doomsday prophet. I'm sincerely concerned that we are heading for World War III, he says. No classic Kremlin jazz hands about Western conspiracies, no biolabs, no NATO encirclement hysteria, just plain old panic.
Беспокоит. Говорю без всякой иронии, без шуток. Конечно, очень много конфликтного потенциала, он растет. Ну и у нас под носом, нас это касается напрямую. Конфликт, который мы переживаем на Украине, на этом направлении. То, что происходит на Ближнем Востоке. И, конечно, нас очень беспокоит то, что происходит вокруг ядерных объектов Ирана. Беспокоит.
So it's like watching an arsonist dial 911. Remember, for 20 years, Putin has been stoking conflict, invading neighbors, propping up rogue regimes, and now he wants to play peacemaker. He's offered no solutions, no proposal, of course, just empty concern, like a drunk driver warning about traffic safety. The irony is pretty thick. The man who spent years destabilizing the global order now wants to stop the catastrophe. But we've seen the Kremlin's peace offerings before, and they usually roll on tank threats. Now, Georgia, Crimea, Donbass, Putin doesn't do peace. He does PR dressed as peace. So the absurdity keeps snowballing. Right after his apocalyptic musings, Putin sat down with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in Moscow. Two regimes with enough sanctions between them to start a collectors club, now suddenly concerned about the well-being of the Iranian people. This is from the man who thinks bombing civilians is just another form of diplomacy. So if hypocrisy could be a fuel source, they'd be energy independent for life.
Уважаемый господин министр, очень рад вас видеть. Добрый день, добро пожаловать. Вы совершаете визит в Россию в сложный период резкого обострения ситуации в регионе и вокруг вашей страны. Наша позиция в отношении происходящих событий хорошо известна. Она ясно изложена, артикулирована Министерством иностранных дел от имени России. И вы знаете о позиции, которую мы заняли и в Совете Безопасности Организации Объединенных Наций. Спровоцированная абсолютно агрессия против Ирана не имеет под собой никаких оснований и никаких оправданий. У нас с Ираном давние, добрые, надежные отношения. Мы со своей стороны предпринимаем усилия для того, чтобы оказать содействие иранскому народу.
Russia and Iran have been trading more than just hollow rhetoric. Drones, oil, nuclear daydreams, mutual victimhood narratives. It's a geopolitical flea market for authoritarian bargain hunters. Now, one sells explosive hardware, the other sells stories of Western prosecution. And then Putin, mid-sympathy spree, says he supports the Iranian people, the same Putin whose version of support leaves cities in rubble. But lately, Putin's tone has shifted. Less chest-thumping, more caution. Call it diplomacy, call it nerves. But when a guy who spent years launching wars suddenly starts warning about someone else's aggression, it usually means something isn't going according to plan. While he talks peace into the microphone, Europe is drafting new sanctions, Iran is cranking out more drones, and global tension is ticking upward. And here we are, once again, watching the next act of geopolitical absurdity unfold. The stage is the same, the script hasn't changed, but even the lead actors look like they've lost track of the plot. Russia's Black Sea beach season just got a slick rebrand, literally. The beaches in Anapa, once a go-to spot for summer vacations, have been declared unsafe for swimming. Why? Because 6 months after an oil spill in the Kerch Strait, fuel oil is still washing ashore. Welcome to the Russian Riviera, now with extra crude. According to official documents, these toxic zones are off limits to civilians, unless you're part of a cleanup crew or your job description includes pretending that this isn't a public health disaster. Authorities haven't specified which beaches are affected, but the restriction applies across the municipality. The Broadwalk is technically open, the water less so. Russia's Ministry of Emergency Situations insists that they've been working hard. 409 kilometers of coastline clean, over 151,000 tons of toxic sand and soil removed, and even deep-sea surveys with underwater drones. Oil, they say, had been scooped up, filtered, and treated with chemicals. Special compressors have been sucking gunk off the seabed, a cleanup mission worthy of a press release. But here's the catch. Videos from the ground say otherwise.
Похороненные сети с мазутом. Там вот сетка, дальше сетка, здесь сетки. Поэтому их никто не убирал, вообще просто сверху стелили, порвалось. Не достали, сверху просто стелилось и все. Если мы боремся как бы за чистоту песка, может быть, надо было убрать сначала старые сети, потом наложить новые. А так получается просто имитация деятельности, как обычно. Просто это печально все. Боремся за какие-то там 5 миллиграмм, а сеть, которая отработала с мазутом, продолжает валяться на песке и продолжает его типа заражать, по их мнению.
So footage from the Jamete beach tells a different story. A local walks the shore after a storm and finds globs of fuel oil scattered everywhere. Under the sand, oil-soaked netting and plastic bags. So either the cleanup team missed a spot or all clear in Russian just means don't film this. Now for anyone wondering why this matters, here's your quick and dirty on fuel oil. It's toxic. Skin contact causes burns, breathing in fumes can mess with your nervous system, and it's already killed dozens of dolphins and possibly tens of thousands of seabirds. As the water warms up, heavier oil residues may start floating to the surface, just in time for vacation season. And in true Russian official fashion, the response isn't to close the beaches, it's to invite the kids. Despite oil still appearing on shore, officials are moving ahead with federal and regional children's recreation programs in Napa. One health resort is preparing to host 3,000 kids, another in Vitezevo is welcoming children with respiratory conditions. Medical advice? Let them swim in the sea. Apparently, hydrocarbons are now part of the healing process. But even ordinary Russians seem to not care about their health. Or rather, they simply don't know how bad the beaches are for their health because their government didn't tell them.
Так, ребята, спасибо всем огромное, что вы выбрали Анапу. Спасибо, что к нам приехали. Посмотрите, сколько вас здесь собралось. На календаре у нас 22 июня 2025 год. И шезлонги в аренду берете по 400 рублей на Большом Утрище. И здесь просто уже люди камнями засыпаются. Мест свободных практически не осталось на пляже. Ребята, я думаю, к вечеру здесь будет еще больше. Сейчас просто обед, немного люди разошлись. Сколько их в море купается. Ух, прям вся пляжная территория в людях. Везде только люди. Вот это да, вот это столпотворение. Я даже не ожидал, что столько людей может находиться в одном месте на Большом Утрище. В море очереди. Круто.
So here we are, in the middle of summer, under the Russian sun, fuel oil evaporates and spreads through the air. No beach border or government memo can stop that. No one's saying Anapa needs to be evacuated, but maybe it's not the place to send kids with asthma, or anyone, really. Unless, of course, your idea of a beach holiday includes chemical exposure and commemorative rash. And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.